I want to invite you into a very special treat because of Dyslexia Awareness Month. We want to give you access to a special keynote by Ameer Baraka, Undiagnosed, the Ugly Side of Dyslexia. Check out his book by that same name by clicking the card in the top right-hand corner. We wanted to give you this session because it's inspiring, it's moving, and because of watching it, you're going to be moved to action. We need people of action. So sit back, take it in, and enjoy this special treat. Here we are. It's keynote time. I am so thrilled and honored to be able to share who our keynote is this year. Now, before I tell you his name, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who this person is. You see, the individual that's about to come in front of us and speak to us grew up in poverty in New Orleans. He lived in a household that was pretty destructive. His own mother told him that he wasn't smart. He lived this life. He fell into this descent into crime. But what you're going to hear is how he had this ascent out of that life. How his mother had an ascent to a renewed relationship. His story is incredible. Today, you might see our keynote speaker, Ameer Baraka, doing work with Tyler Perry. You may have seen him on American Horror Story. He's got great things coming up. Ameer's dyslexic, and he's not afraid to tell anybody. In fact, he wants everyone to know his story. Ameer, come in here and wow the crowd.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure to be here. It's truly a pleasure to be here, and I'm thankful that you guys are giving me the platform to share my story. I definitely want this to resonate with politicians, school teachers, and also parents because it's crucial. I had the opportunity to go before the Senate in Washington, D.C. Senator Bill Cassidy gave me the opportunity to come up and speak. So I want to thank Senator Bill Cassidy for giving me that opportunity. And while there, I shared my story about growing up with dyslexia. However, I also got the opportunity to step into Senator Rand Paul's office and sit down, and we're trying to get a meeting with him. And he said something that was very breathtaking to me. He said, well, we don't have to worry about dyslexics because they're the smart people. They're geniuses. Look at Steve Jobs. And he began to name all these successful dyslexics. And I left out of that office completely irate. I was completely irate because he had no knowledge of my story. And after a while, I discovered why he thought like that. You see, when you look at CBS News or you look at any news station and they're presenting a person with dyslexia, it's mostly white parents who are coming on. I remember one parent in particular, they came on and talked about the kid who was dyslexic. They were standing behind a yacht. And so these were well-to-do people, and that lady was talking about how the money she paid for her son to get the remediation that he needed. And so these were the things that people like Senator Rand Paul was looking at. And so after pondering on that, I said, okay, I understand now why he said that. He doesn't understand the ugly side of dyslexia because there's a good side of dyslexia and there's an ugly side of dyslexia. So that's why I'm a proponent of early screening. And as we talk about my story, you'll understand why. I actually grew up in the Callio housing projects with two other siblings. My parents were young parents at the time. My mother was in high school, well, just completed high school, going into college. And my dad was a guy who had a well-to-do education, came from a great family. but he got caught up into drugs, etc. And so growing up there, my grandmother, who practically raised us, believed that she said that the only way that the Negro would get out of poverty was through education. And so what she did was she was hard on you with education. You could not go out and do anything you wanted to do. School was first priority. And so she would put the words in your hand. So you had to hold out your hand during the spelling. She had a chalkboard, and if you didn't know your words, she took a belt and she popped your hand with it. She popped your hand. So my brothers and sisters were A students. They knew that they had to study because my grandmother had beat that not only into their minds, but into their hands as well. Now, me coming up being the younger kid, I got the same treatment. But she had the bandwidth to understand that something was wrong with me because I wasn't catching on. I was being spanked too much. My hands were being blistered up too much. And so she realized that there was something that was wrong. I wasn't getting it. I wasn't catching on. And she was right. So by now I'm in the second and third grade and I'm cutting school because there's this fear, there's this shame that I have of not going in on Fridays for the spelling test. So on Fridays, I would cut class and sleep in the project hallway sometimes because I just got tired of going to school failing the spelling test. And my mother would beat me and whoop me. She would yell at me. She would call me names. You're dumb, you stupid, you can't do this, you can't do that. I don't know why you don't want to do this. I don't know why you can't be like your brothers and sisters. I don't know why. Something must be wrong with you. And so all of this stuff, this was compounding. It was like the perfect pot of gumbo, which we eat here in New Orleans. It was just a perfect ingredient between school, between poverty, between not having a dad, between a mother saying what she said, between me failing in school. All these things were the perfect ingredient for me to take off into the street life. And so very early on, I never dreamt that I would be a football player, a basketball player, anything like that. I had a grandmother who used to make us pray at night, and I used to pray and ask God I would say around the 4th or the 5th grade to make me a drug dealer because I saw that was my only way out, was to deal drugs. I could not do things the conventional way. So with my brother and sister being very competitive in school, I was the one that was always laughed at. I couldn't read, I couldn't write. And so I felt really, really bad. And so I acted out. I would get into fights. I would just do anything that I could do to stay out of that classroom. And so this went on for quite some time rather. And growing up in the projects, there are men there that prey on little boys, right? To use to sell drugs, to hold their drugs. And I fell into that category because I just thought that was my way to make money. That was my way to show my mom and them that I don't need you. I can get money on my own. I can be somebody. I can't read, but I can get money. And so I pursued this dream of becoming a major drug dealer because my grandmother had told me that if you pray, God will answer your prayers. God hear your prayers. And I believe that God was going to make me this huge drug dealer so I can show my brothers and sisters and I can show my mom I don't need them. I can do it on my own. And I had some good dreams. I wanted to help people in my community because I was living in some bad areas and I wanted to build swings. And I had I created this whole picture in my mind of like, I wanted to be a leader and help people in my project. And I was going to do it by selling drugs. And so the beating went on up until around I would say probably the 4th or 5th grade. They stopped spanking me because they knew that I just wasn't going to do what I wanted to do. So by this time, I'm in junior high school, and I never forget, I was in the 6th grade, and there was a girl named Tara Lawson that I was in love with, and she was my sweetheart. And she and I landed in the same English class together. And on this particular day, the teacher called me up to read. I got up, got in front of the class, the book in my hand, and began to sweat profusely. And she held me up there for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and I didn't know any words. I probably knew like but anything else, like on a 6th grade level, you're kind of reading sort of some sophisticated words, and I couldn't read. And I knew from that day that I would never go back into school. I knew that day I was done with school. That day I made it up in my mind. The shame that I went through, having this, having Tara to see me not being able to read, people laughing. I knew that I wasn't coming back to school. I knew that I was going to show those people in my classroom that I'm going to be better than you in something. And that was going to be selling dope. I was going to make it big in selling dope. And I got it deeply involved with selling drugs. My mother could not control me at all. I had made it up in my mind that this was my way out of the hood. This was my only way. I can't read. I can't spell. And so my mother never really knew that I couldn't read. She never really sat me down and said, okay, son, can you read? Right? She just knew that I was just failing. She just knew that I was just acting out and that I just never would stay in school. She would bring me to school. And about the time she bring me to school, somebody will call up and tell her that I'm in the project selling drugs. And so this went on and on and on. And so now I'm in this rut. I've surrounded myself with other drug dealers. I am 13 years old, and I'm believing all these lies of the street life. I'm letting these grown men tell me, okay, this is what you need to do. This is how you get money. You're a real man now. This is what you got to do. And I was told at one time that you had to protect your projects. Like no other outsider could come in to your projects to sell drugs. This was your domain. This was your turf. And after being trained that way for quite some time, there was a guy that came from another project to my project, and he was selling drugs, and I told him he had to leave. I was 13 at this time, and he and I got into a fight. I think he was 18. We got into an altercation. We fought. I wound up going to get a gun. He got a gun. We had a shootout, and lo and behold, a person's life was taken. All of this stuff was just, as a 13-year-old kid, I was snorting cocaine, I was snorting heroin, and I was just so confused. You have no idea how confused I was as a 13-year-old boy. I mean, no beatings, no whoopings could stop me. Nothing could stop me. I was just determined because I had lost hope. I mean, dyslexia robbed me of my childhood. I was robbed. I never dreamt of being anything. I didn't want to be a basketball player. I didn't want to be a football player because I knew that those people had to know how to read in order to be a football player. You had to go to college. You had to go to school. And so I couldn't compete. I couldn't. And after that, I was sentenced to juvenile jail where I served a year for a charge of manslaughter. And I tried, my mother would bring me comic books, and I tried to learn, I tried, but it was just that I didn't know any words, and I wanted to do better, but I didn't have it in me to do better. So after serving that year, I got back out, got back into the drug life, and I just was getting felonies after felonies after felonies. Now this time I'm 17 years old. I fall into the hands of the adult system, and lo and behold, I get caught with a 1/4 kilo of cocaine this time, and I'm facing 6 years because now I have multiple offenses because I'm constantly getting busted with drugs. And it's constantly due to the impact that, I can't stay out of a prison because I can't read, right? So I can't fill out an application, right? I'm not looking for a job because I can't fill out an application. And my mother, she's telling me, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, but Mama, I can't read. Right? I can't spell, right? I never told her that, but it's like, you can't understand that I can't, you don't understand this. You don't know what's going on. And so one thing led to another. Now I'm facing a 60-year prison sentence because I've got caught with a 1/4 kilo of cocaine and I have multiple felony convictions. I run off to California for 4 years, and I discovered that I had a great look, a great body, and people like, Ameer, man, you should model, you should do this. And I'm hearing stuff like, man, you think I should model? You think I should do that? And so now I'm starting to believe in myself, right? I'm meeting people, successful people out in California that are doing great things. And I'm like, wow, man, these guys are my age. Look what they're doing. But these people can read, they can write. And that was my only hindrance. It's like, I want to do this. I really want to do these things. I really believe what you're saying, but you guys don't know that I can't read. And so it was a prison. I was in this prison, this self-imposed prison that I was in. And 4 years later, I'm apprehended out in California. Someone told the cops I was out there, and I'm on drugs at this time as well, because I never broke my drug habit. I've been on cocaine and heroin since I was like 13. Now I'm about 20 something years old, and I'm still on drugs. So I'm just still dealing with this drug. This addiction, this addiction of shame, this addiction. I don't care. I'm the hell with the world, screw the world. That was my whole mentality. My mother forgot about me. My dad, they walked out on me. I don't care about anybody. So that I was just bombarded with those type of thoughts for years. I was bombarded with those type of thoughts. And so when I got arrested, this time I got 4 years sentence on the cocaine, fortunately. And I was sent off to a penitentiary. And so during this time, when you go into this prison that I was in, you had to be screened, right? They'll screen you for reading, right? Where you are reading. And so I was 23 years old, and I was reading on a third grade level. And so I never forget this. I'm like, God, I got to learn to read. It's like, I know this is my problem. I'm not dumb, And I fought with that because I was fighting. I know I wasn't dumb. I felt dumb. I know my mama called me dumb, but I was fighting that. I know I could be something in life. I know that I can, but I just had to get over this reading hump. And so I made up in my mind that for these 4 years that I got, I said, man, I'm gonna learn to read. And so there was this guy, this teacher in the penitentiary. He knew, I told him that like I wanted to learn to read. He knew where I was because he saw my scores and my reading scores. And, he talked to me about, he asked me about, or any other of my family members could read. Could they read? Could everybody read? And I'm like, yeah, my sisters and brothers, they went to school. My mom could read. My dad could read. And he said, okay, Ameer, if you want to learn, sit in front of the class. So I sat in front of the class throughout the duration of me being in prison because I wanted to read. And the first time I heard the word dyslexia, it was from a lady that he brought in to screen us. He brought a lady from the streets to screen us. And I was set down. I was placed into another room. And we went over some phonics, some words, and mixing, trying to blend words. And I was just completely oblivious to, I didn't know L said, oh. I didn't know that. I just didn't know. And that's the first time I heard the word dyslexia. Dyslexia. And so I thought in my mind when she said that, like it was something dumb, something like it was confirming what my mother had said for all those years. And so when my teacher broke that down to me and told me what it was, I immediately got on the phone and told my mom. I said, Mom, this man told me that, well, to be honest with you, what I said. I said, Mama, this white man told me that I was dyslexic, right? And she was like, well, what is that? I said, Mama, I'm not dumb, Mama. I have a reading disability. You're right. And white people have it too, Mama. So I'm telling my mama these things. Everything that this man has told me, I'm telling my mama this. And so my mama began to cry. And she began to tell me she was sorry, telling me the things that she had said because she didn't know. She didn't know, and I didn't know. And so that was a pivotal moment in our relationship building because for years she had said things that just really pushed me down and made me feel horrible as a human being. And so the process began. I just started writing a bunch of words down, like though, tomorrow, yesterday, all these words. And I wasn't the only one. I went to prison. We drove a bus from New Orleans to Cottonport, Louisiana, which was about a 3.5 hour drive. And out of 32 of us, only one guy had a high school diploma, and the rest of us were reading on third, fourth, fifth grade level. So, I wasn't by myself. So there was a good feeling that, hey, I'm not the only person that can't read, right? And so as I journeyed on in my prison sentence, there were so many men in that prison that couldn't read. So men would give men cigarettes, they would give them snacks to write letters. And so in prison, you have grown men asking other grown men, "Hey, man, how to spell tomorrow, or how to spell yesterday?" I mean, these are grown men that can't read or can't spell, and I didn't. So I really didn't feel bad about my situation at all. I just felt, wow, I feel comfortable around these people because I'm not the only one. But I was determined in my mind to learn to read. And so for 4 years, my whole prison sentence, I just wrote a bunch of words down. Yesterday, again, tomorrow, through. And I took the GED test. And right before I got home, it took me 4 years, right before, about a month before I got home, I took the test for probably the third or fourth time, and I passed it. And I was so excited. I was so excited that I got my GED. And there was just this burst of self-esteem that came out, like, man, I can accomplish anything because I could read. Fast forward, I got out, got into modeling, got into acting, and was doing very, very well. And just by this time, I hooked up with Senator Bill Cassidy. He was the one that called me up and said, "Listen, Amir, I need you to testify for me. Would you be willing to do that?" And so I said, yes. So I went up to DC and testified on dyslexia. And it went over well. Myself and Mrs. She's at Yale. The lady, she's over at Yale. Her name right now escapes me. She testified alongside me. And there was a guy up there from the Now program. He told me, he said, "Amir, I want to help you learn to read." And I said, "Man, I know how to read." He said, "No, Amir, you don't know how to read." He said, "What you're doing is you're just memorizing words." And he was absolutely right, because up until that time, and that was about 3 years ago, I still was writing thousands of words down. I have like a list of vocabulary words to build my vocabulary up. And I was just adamant about being able to speak well. I just wanted to do that. I wanted to be somebody. And so this guy said, "Okay, listen, I'm gonna help you. I need you to be with me an hour a day." And I did that for an hour a day for about 18 months, every day online with him. And it was difficult at first. It was something that was new, but I stuck in there, and I was determined to ride along with him. And I tell you, after I completed the course, it took me 18 months. I said to myself, had someone given me this when I was in the second or third or fourth grade, I knew that I would have never gone to prison. I would have never gone to prison. That was my only stumbling block. That was my obstacle. But I just fell through the cracks, and people were just, I went from the third grade to the second grade to the fourth grade. They just skipped me on and on and on and on. No one really caught that. And my mother failed me. The school system failed me. But I was determined not to fail myself. And that's what I did. I just was determined to stand up to the plate and say, "Listen, I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb. Well, I can't read, but you know, I'm going to learn to read." And for a while, I mean, as an adult, I lived with that. I mean, can you imagine, as a human being, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, and you meet girls, and I mean, you can only pronounce words that that you saw sight words, and so that's how I was. And so for a very long time, there was a shame that I had about not being able to read fluently. But now I don't care, and I want politicians to know that we have to screen kids early on. We have to, because if we do, we can curtail crime. Right now, today, there's so many other stories of young boys that I go into school with and talk to. They can't read, and they're doing the same thing that I did. They're acting out. They're acting out. Their sisters and brothers can read, but they can't. Or the girl can't read, and they're acting out. These kids are all acting out, because they can't read. And so I want to stop that. I want to reduce that. We can never eradicate crime, but we can reduce it, particularly with those who having these reading disabilities, these reading differences, who feel bad about themselves. I want teachers to know that you should never shame the kid, embarrass a child who can't read. You should never tell that kid anything disparaging. You should never bring that kid before a group of students and have that kid put that kid up, and you know he can't read, or if you sense that, you pull that kid away. And parents, thirdly, parents, never call your kid names. Never, never, never. Just, you can't do that, because it impacts that kid emotional and spiritual well-being. And so uh, 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 that self-imposed prison that I was in, the only way that you could extricate yourself from that is through good self-esteem, having good people around you, encouraging yourself, believing in yourself, not believing in what the naysayers say, even if it's from your mother or it's from your school teacher. You have gifts, you have talents. God has created you special. When he created you, no one looks like you. No one has your same fingerprint. No one has the gifts and talents that you have. You may not feel as though you have gifts and talents because your inability to read, but you are talented. You are gifted. Somewhere down the line, you're going to find out. You're going to discover what you were created for. And once you do that, you're going to blossom just like me. I am not special. By no means am I special. I just begin to believe in myself. I just begin to seek out. I begin to seek out my gifts and my talents, and I think one of them was acting. I enjoy acting. I enjoy the arts, and so we have a lot of dyslexics that are in the arts. Leonardo DiCaprio, Whoopi Goldberg, Tom Cruise, and many others. And who else? Her name is. She's a female actress. She's an Academy Award winner. Her name escapes me as well right now. I've been trying to get her to speak to girls, because when I go on these dyslexic conferences, I talk to a lot of girls, and I try to stay away from talking to young girls, because I believe women should talk to young girls. A lot of young girls come up to me and pull me to the side and try to talk to me. I say, well, let's go get your parent. But and they look like me. And so people who look like me come up to me, and they want to, they're like in awe, like, wow, you're dyslexic? Yeah. And so trying to get people to understand that is very, very important. And so this year coming up, this new school year, what I want to do is go with full force. I would love to work with Learning Allies and others to get the word out. I have a new memoir coming out titled Undiagnosed, The Ugly Side of Dyslexia, because there is an ugly side. And for too long, we've been hearing about the good side. But you got to think about those parents who don't have the resources, those parents who are completely oblivious to the reasons why their kids can't read, and they call their kids names. And so that's the ugly side of dyslexia. People dropping out of school, people ending up in prison, people going into depression, people using drugs, people who are feeling stupid and dumb, people who are hiding in the shadows. And so, I'm trying to get rid of the shame and the scourge of dyslexia, and let people know it's okay. It's okay. I'm dyslexic. So what's wrong with that? Right? I can't read fluently or write orthographically correct, but that doesn't make me stupid. That doesn't make me dumb. So if this message can help anyone, I hope parents, politicians, and school teachers. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. I'm here to answer any questions that anyone may have.
What a story. And let me tell you what, the comments are just off the charts, mainly about saying thank you with all sincerity, with all honesty, to say thank you to you, Ameer, for sharing this story. I even saw some comments that said every administrator in America needs to hear your story. You know what? We need to make that happen. I'm telling you. Absolutely. So Ameer, let's just talk real quick. And because we were having a great conversation backstage before this session started, and you shared some amazing things with me, and I love this refound relationship and connection that you have with your mother, because we talked about how when you were young, she didn't know. You didn't know, she didn't know. Nope, you didn't know. And so she said all these things, but then you reconnected that relationship.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful to God for that, because there was a growing process that she had to grow into. Uh, I had to grow, and that same negativity that she spoke became positivity once I put my foot towards acting. It was when there were times where I wanted to give up because I couldn't get work, and she would say, "No, Amir, I believe God is going to bless you, son. You special. I'm telling you, I know there's great things inside of you. You're going to be the one that take me to the Emmys. You're going to be the one to take me to the awards." And she was telling me all these things, and I really couldn't see those things. I really couldn't see, because it had gotten so tough for me, because acting is a very tough business. And it was her words that kept me fighting. It was her words that kept me believing in myself. And lo and behold, uh, she's spoken into existence. And as I was saying, when I got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the Emmy category, I was dating this girl, and I broke up with this girl because I told her I was going to take her, but I broke up with her because I had to take my mom, because she was the one that walked with me through this hell that I had gone through. I took my mother literally through hell with all the things that I'd done. I took her through hell, and so this was her moment. This was her time to shine. It was her time to be proud of me, and for me to be proud of her. And so we walked on the red carpet. They interviewed her, and boy, was it was just an awesome time. It was an awesome time. So I'm grateful to my mother. And at the beginning, it was bad, but at the end, it was all good.
Yeah, I'm just picturing you arm in arm with your mom walking down that red carpet. What a moment! What a
Yeah.
moment! Ah, incredible. All right, Amir, you said something else about, you know what? You didn't get screened for dyslexia until you were in prison.
Yes.
We don't need to wait that long. Why are we waiting that long? Why are we waiting for those circumstances to happen? We have to do that early, right? And I know you're really passionate about that. Get that screening earlier, because it could have changed things for you.
I'm very passionate about that, but I also I think I understand a bit why, because see, what I realize is that the prison industrial complex is a multi-billion-dollar business. It's a lot of free labor that goes on in the prison systems: kitchen appliances, stop signs, all kind of car mechanical stuff. A lot of this work is done in the prison system, furniture, and so it's free labor. So imagine if you had a prison. I was in a prison where there was 1,500 men, and it was free labor. So I have 1,500 people working for me for free, and so it's incentivized. I mean, I want to keep you there. I have to keep you there. I have to keep that full capacity, because I'm getting all these resources from the state. The longer I keep you there every day, I think it's $43 a day. So imagine $43 a day times 10 years or 15 years, and plus the free labor. So it's I think that they don't want you educated. There's a piece of the system that don't want you educated, because I need that free labor. So again, you have to think about it. There are certain prisons that have men 5,000, like Angola. Angola have 5,000 inmates. Do you know the free labor that goes on with 5,000 people? You know the work that 5,000 people can do? So we have to look at it from that perspective as well. But I'm hoping that we can get beyond that and get out of that antiquated way of thinking, and try to reduce some of this stuff by getting kids screened early. I think parents. I just found out in New York, I think they're screening every kid now. It's a law that just passed. I don't know if you heard about it in New York. So I'm elated. I think we're going to defeat this giant.
Yeah, with voices like you, we absolutely will defeat this giant. We've had some questions here too
Yes.
about educators. I mean, this conference is for educators. That's who are in the room today. And I've always said this about educators, because I was one of the educators that when I was in the classroom, I had no clue how to teach reading. No
Mm.
clue. But I always say, you cannot teach what you do not know.
Right.
And so no shame, no blame if you don't know. We have to do better to equip our educators. How do you
Yes.
feel about equipping and resourcing our educators?
Well, it's very important because they're the teachers. They're the teachers and the kids are the learners. So it's important that they have every tool in their toolbox that's necessary to make sure that kid excels. So if a teacher doesn't know how to teach a kid or identify a kid that is dyslexic, I mean, it's you're going to have that kid is going to fall through the cracks. So I think it's imperative that teachers go back and learn everything that they can learn about this issue so they can treat this kid properly. They will direct this kid in a way. If they can't help that kid, they can get that kid in the right direction, put that kid in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, and as individuals that support educators, support policy and legislation, the work that you're doing, Ameer, around that. I mean, it's going to take a village, it's going to take a tribe and a community to make that happen.
Right, right, right. A lady was asking me, and I told her about that I'm big on getting people screened in prison, right, and getting people the help that they need. And she said, well, she said to me, well, Amir, you should be worried about our kids because those guys, they committed crime, blah. And I said, ma'am, you're absolutely right. I said, however, to reduce recidivism, we have to get those people help as well. They're human beings as well, right? It's redemption within inside of those men. If we want a healthy society, we should work on both fronts. We should work on all fronts to try to help all people to learn to read. Because if a person can't learn to read, you go to prison and you spend 6-7 years in prison and you still haven't learned to read. What are you going to do when you come out? You're going to do the same thing more than likely, right? Because you don't have the skills. You can't fill out an application. So I want to help all people of all colors, of all backgrounds. It doesn't matter. I just want to help people. I'm in the business of helping people. I'm in the salvation business.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Carly asks you a question. Okay, Amir, it's no secret. You've told us you were a bad kid, right? You had behavior problems in the classroom, and teachers are dealing with that today. These kids that are coming to them, these middle school kids, these high school kids, I'm not doing the work. I don't care. I don't, all of these behaviors that they're dealing with. And Carly is asking, what do I need to do to connect with that child? I mean, what did you need from a teacher?
Well, what I need, I worked in a school, Booker T. Washington. You guys can Google me on that. It was Channel 4 News, and we're all ex-cons, and we went to a school and taught the psychology of incarceration. And so kids want to be able to relate, right? A lot of kids want to be able to relate to what they're dealing with at home, what they're dealing with in their communities. And so a lot of us don't really understand when that kid goes back to that household, academics more than likely is not valued in that household. That kid is void of a father, of a role model. That kid's seen drugs, she's seen murder. So that's a lot of stuff that's probably beyond their pay grade. However, love is a very powerful tool. Spending time with that kid, encouraging that kid, because I'm telling you, as you drop those seeds of positivity into that kid, no matter how he or she acts up, eventually it will germinate. It will germinate. It's going to germinate. That kid, whether it's 2 years, 3 years down the line, that kid is going to come back to you and say, Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, I really appreciate what you told me. It really impacted me. And so I know what the teachers are dealing with because I've been in that situation. I embraced it. When I taught, I embraced the challenge. I look forward to the challenge because I like those breakthroughs. I was just determined to break through. And many of the students that I dealt with, they went on to go to prison. Some went on to get killed. But, and I was heartbroken, but I was just so determined to just get through. There was some kids I knew someone's going to be lost, but those who I knew that I could get, I just kept pouring into them and kept pouring into them. And so, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to feel down, but you gotta pick yourself up every day. Leave those problems at school. Don't take them home with you, right? Home is a place where you come and you decompress and you love on your children, you love on your husband or your wife, or your better half, and you get back up and you go back to school and you do your school business at school. Do not take that stuff. Do not take it home with you. Whatever you do, don't take it home with you.
Yeah.
And I,
Save
I
the
would love,
money.
at some point, I would love to come in to Philly, to Baltimore, all around to these schools and talk to these kids because, when I go to these classes, these kids really, really relate to me because for some reason they connect to the story because they understand. Oh wow, man, you grew up just like me, and so now you can't tell Mr. Ameer you haven't walked in my shoes. No, Mr. Ameer has walked in many different shoes. You haven't walked in Mr. Ameer's shoes, so there are no excuses now.
Mm-hmm.
Now you juxtapose the two stories and you're like, oh wow, man, this man has really been through hell, right? So now you're forced to make better choices.
Wow, there was so much in that response. One of the consistent themes that I saw just woven throughout is basically this: love is the answer. Love works.
It
It
works.
love works. Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Let's see. Let me see if I've got more questions over here for us to get to. Oh my goodness, people are sharing in the chat box the link to all of your stuff. Everybody is just talking about all of the amazing things. Tell us about the new book coming out again. The new book, your memoirs. Tell us all the stuff around that, Ameer. It's exciting
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this because I was able to. I am restricted. I'm restricted in my writing abilities because I don't have the education that many people who have gone to school and spent their time in writing have. I don't have that ability. I have other abilities, and so uh, there was a lady that contacted me and she said, listen, Amir, you have a remarkable story. I want to help you rewrite your story. She said, you have so much. She said, we can do so much with this. And so I put it off for about 4 or 5 months. And, I was kind of led. I felt it in my spirit that, hey, you know what? I need to connect. And I did that. And we began to work and she began to write, clean up the first chapter, the second chapter, and the third chapter. And I'm like, oh my God. It was just powerful. It was just so powerful. She took out some things that needed to be taken out, and we just stuck to the story and the dyslexic component. So this next book will be titled Undiagnosed: The Ugly Side of Dyslexia. And so I'm really thrilled about that. And unfortunately, it's coming in during the time where it should be completed in the next 2 weeks. So I'll have that book and the Tyler Perry TV show Zatima that I did, Tales of the Walking Dead, the new show that I did, A House Divided season 5, that's due out in January. So everything will just like work completely together. And so it'll be a big PR story behind this. So I'm really thrilled. And I'll come back to you guys and we'll get a lot of work done as well. We'll get a lot of work done. This year I'm really going full force. I want to say this. I made a little money in the stock market. And so I want to be able to just to get this story out by any means necessary to impact kids.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you what, we'll take you up on that offer for sure. Oh my goodness. So, you know what? Another thing that you were saying to us in the green room before we went live is how, you know what? You are in the world of, a Hollywood world, actors, athletes, professional athletes, all of these people. And there's so many of them that and you don't need to tell us names, but so many that they will not speak about their journey. They're dyslexic. They've struggled, but they won't speak. They keep their mouths closed. How come it's so important for you to open your mouth to share your story?
Because what it has done for me is freed me. It has freed me from shame. And one of the biggest things that I had, like when I was dating, I date girls and you can't read. That is very embarrassing, right? It's embarrassing to tell a girl, like, I really can't read that well, right? And so, the guys that I know, they're multimillionaires, right? football players, basketball players, they're millionaires and they can't read a lick. And so there's a shame that goes with that. And I understand that. But I don't want kids to feel like I felt growing up. So that's why I'm so vocal about it. And there's a lady here that wrote me the note about, she said, Ameer, as an adult, do you still use accommodations in your reading, like when you have a new script to learn? No, I don't need any accommodations. I got the treatment, the help that I needed, the remediation that I needed. And the only thing that I really need is I like to go over my script over and over. I like to get it early so I could study it. It takes me just a little bit longer to read it, but I don't need any help. I don't need any help with reading it. It takes me longer. So I'm good in that area.
But you know what you need. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what you need.
Yeah.
Ask for what you need and go about it. Yeah.
Right. So if I don't know a word, I'll call my brother up and I say, or a friend of mine, he graduated from the business school of Wharton. He knows, God, this guy's a walking lexicon. And I'm like, hey man, what this word means, or how do I say this? So, I have people, I just reach out for help. I'm not ashamed. I'm just not ashamed. It's like, I'm not ashamed. The showrunner, Dan Garcia, of the show that I worked on, A House Divided, he knows that I'm dyslexic, and I tell him, I say, listen, man, if you want to get me something to read, I need it early. Don't get it to me the day before. I need it a couple days before. So he knows that.
Yeah. Be vocal. Stand up. You're even advocating for yourself as an adult.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And these are things, that we need to teach our children how to advocate for themselves when they're young. They don't know those skills. You didn't know those skills when you were young.
No. It's very important that kids now are really more vocal, right? They're different from the generation when I grew up in. So, I want to tell kids, listen, if you don't know something, you tell the person, you tell the teacher, hey, listen, I'm dyslexic. I need more time with this, right? It's not fair. I need more time. All right. Talk to the principal. Let somebody know. And so don't be ashamed, right? A closed mouth will never get fed.
So true. Ameer, on this national stage right now, in front of thousands of educators that are here live and the thousands that will watch over and over and over again later on, what are the final words you want to leave in the ears and the hearts and the minds of the educators here?
As educators, God has gifted you with a talent and an ability. It's your job to sharpen that skill, right? It's your job to be equipped with everything that you need to know to be the best teacher that you can be. Lives are in your hand. People take their children and place them in your hand. And I know sometimes all the kids don't shine like the other kids, and all the kids don't have the perfect behavior like the other kids. But that's the profession you chose. That's your gift. That's your talent. And everything don't work perfect for me as an actor, right? Everything doesn't work perfect for me when I'm building a home or I'm remodeling a home. It doesn't always go well. But it's my job. It's what I do. So I want to encourage you today. I want you to get all the help that you need, to get fired up for this next up and coming school year, to encompass yourself around other people who are fired up. Stay away from those teachers who say, oh, these kids will never do nothing. These kids will never do nothing. Stay away from it because it's poison. It's poison. It gets into your spirit and it dampens your fire. I want you to be fired up because lives are in your hand. I'm dependent on you. Parents are dependent on you. And God, who gave you the gift to teach, is dependent on you. So please stay fired up. Stay committed. Stay committed. You're going to have some what looks like failures and some that looks like winners, right? Don't be too elated of your winners, and don't be too despondent of your losers. But just stay on the road of the path, doing your job. And I guarantee you, at the end of the day, you'll be able to rest in peace.
Thank you, Ameer. Thank you. What an incredible session. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your words, your wisdom. Thank you for your humility, everything that you brought forth in front of and in presence of all of these people. Thank you so much.
I want to say one other thing.
Go ahead.
Teachers want to follow me. They can follow me on Instagram at my name, Ameer Baraka, or on Twitter at Ameer Baraka. I'm always posting. I would definitely like teachers to, when the book come out, to grab it and maybe they could read it to their students, right? Read the story. It'll be clean enough for them to read it to their students. I think it'll be a very powerful thing for them to read it to their students. Also, in doing that, if they do that, they can call me on FaceTime or Zoom me on with their kids in the classroom. Whatever they need out of me, just contact me. Say, Ameer, listen, I got your book. I would like for you to talk to this student. I would talk to that student. I would set up a time to talk to that student who's acting out. I would do that. That's what I would do. And so I want that to be out there. And don't think that I don't have enough time, because I will make time. I will make time. This is my job, right? I'm an actor, but that's just what I do to get money. But this is it's like a ministry. This is what I do. And so I know that you guys are dealing with a lot of schools, but I will make myself available. That's why we have these things called computers and Zoom calls. So, again, I'll keep you guys posted on when the book is out, where you can order it from. And hey, you read in front of your class and some of your students like it, call me on a Zoom, FaceTime, and we can talk.
Now that's selfless leadership right there. I'm telling you, selfless leadership. Guys, thank you for this keynote. We thank Ameer for what he's brought to us today. Now listen, we're about to go off to the back half of the day. We've got more amazing sessions, but I need to give everybody, listen up. I got to tell you something. One of our breakout sessions this afternoon at 2:30 Eastern, Danielle Frith, her session, she's had an emergency pop up. She's not going to be able to be here live. Okay, guys, listen to that. So that room will if you get in there and forget, we'll tell you to pop out. But she has promised we're going to get it recorded as soon as possible and get that to you. Okay, we send our love out to Danielle, and we send our love to you, Ameer. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I truly value what you guys have done for me. Thank you so much. This is definitely a way to get the story out. I appreciate it. I will keep you guys posted with everything. I look forward to continuing working with you guys, and may you guys be blessed.
Thanks, everybody. I told you were in for a treat. Ameer's story is so inspiring because it makes us realize that no child should ever go through what Ameer went through. As adults, we can do better by our children. And the way we do that is by learning and growing. I want to give you access to our Spotlight on Dyslexia content, where we have 25 renowned speakers coming to share their knowledge, their expertise, and their insight. And because of Dyslexia Awareness Month, we want to give you $50 off the list price, down to $49. Just click the card in the top right-hand corner and enter Dyslexia Aware. I hope you'll enjoy this content, take advantage, and more importantly, I hope you'll join me in using Ameer's story as a battle cry. We can do better.